Breaking news from Queen's Park, where a provincial election has been set in motion, with Ontarians set to head to the polls in less than a month.
How are you feeling, Premier?
See everyone in Windsor. We're going to protect Ontario.
Lieutenant Governor Edith Dumont has agreed to dissolve the legislature at Doug Ford's request, triggering an early election call tomorrow. That means Ontarians will cast ballots February 27. CP24's Beatrice Vaisman has been live at Queen's Park pretty much all day and joins us now with the very latest. Beatrice.
Bakari, you heard the Premier there saying two things. I'll see everyone in Windsor. That's where he's launching his campaign as the progressive conservative leader of Ontario tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock in Windsor, across the bridge from Detroit skyline in the background. And it's not a mistake, Bakari. It's done very deliberately, because the Premier's whole purpose for the election and what he's communicated as his purpose for the election is that he wants a mandate from Ontarians to give him 4 years, he says, to combat the threat of these 25% tariffs that President Donald Trump has said are coming on February 1st. And so being in a border city where the Premier is saying he's got to fight for every small business, every Ontario job, essentially gives him the photo op that he's been looking for as he launches this snap election, a rare winter election. He also said the words, "Protect Ontario," and that's the campaign slogan for the Premier and his party for this election. We also know the other leaders, they're going to be out and about starting tomorrow. The writs are going to be written and dropped. Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie, she's going to be out in Barrie. There are two ridings in Barrie Innisfil and Barrie Springwater or Medonte. I worked up in that area at our sister station CTV Barrie. They've been conservative since the Premier came to power in 2018. Prior to that, Barrie Innisfil, which, by the way, both of those ridings are held by two Ford cabinet ministers. Barrie Innisfil was once a Liberal riding, and so certainly Bonnie Crombie is trying to see if there's an opening there for her to regain that seat in the legislature. Marit Stiles, the leader of the official opposition NDP, she became the leader of the NDP about 2 years ago, has not yet been tested in a general election against Doug Ford. She's going to be in Toronto, and Green Party leader Mike Schreiner, who today is spending the day in his home riding of Guelph, is going to be back here in Toronto at Queen's Park as well, delivering his message of what he wants voters to know over the course of the next less than 4 weeks of this election race, Bakari. And so we had a chance earlier to talk to Mike Schreiner about what he thinks of the Premier calling this election. And here's a bit of what he had to say.
The Premier has a mandate with a majority government. He doesn't need to ask for a new mandate. As a matter of fact, what we need to be happening right now is we need to have a united front across party and jurisdictional lines to fight back against Trump's tariff threats. Instead, the Premier is abandoning his job as Premier at a critical moment to protect Canadian workers, Canadian jobs, and Canadian companies.
Schreiner, by the way, Bakari, is the only party leader of the three opposition parties who has run against Doug Ford in a general election. As for what the other party leaders are saying, Marit Stiles putting out a statement as soon as essentially the Premier went into the LG's office, saying with Doug Ford thinks that he can call an early election to escape the record of failure on housing, healthcare, education, and affordability. We won't let him. The statement goes on to say, in the coming weeks, we have the power to choose a better future for our province. Meantime, Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie today also making a big announcement. Bakari, where will she run? That was one of the questions that we've had for her for weeks now. We knew it'd be Mississauga. Today we found out it's going to be Mississauga East Cooksville is where she's going to be putting her name on the ballot. So lots to follow, and it's just the beginning, Bakari.
Okay, continuing live coverage from Queen's Park. CP24's Beatrice Vaisman. Great job. Thanks a lot.